Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to That VidBlaster Guy. I'm Tom Sinclair. I'm your host for the show, and I am delighted to have you here with us this afternoon. It is 2 p.m. Central Time if you're watching us live. If you're catching us on YouTube, then who cares what time it is. By the way, if you miss portions of this show, we'll be uploading it to YouTube later on our YouTube channel, That VidBlaster Guy, or you can catch us in the archives. Really excited about today's show. Today's show is all about football, and this, for our international viewers, sorry about this, this is American football, not European football, what we would call soccer here in the States. Although it does apply, everything that we talk about today in our annual football show, we'll talk about sports essentially and sporting broadcasts. As you know, if you've watched this before, That VidBlaster Guy is based on the theme and the theory that one guy with one PC can do one pretty good broadcast. And so that's what we're doing today. It's me. I'm doing all the switching. Have prepared all the videos that we're going to display for you in just a few minutes. I've done that myself. You know, sometimes the quality's sort of so-so, but I think you'll get the idea. The PC that I'm using is not any kind of super PC. It's something that you can buy or build yourself. It's an i7 2600K processor based. We're running a 120 megabyte solid state hard drive as our main drive and a terabyte hard drive as our backup, and that'll kind of come into play as we talk about the video replay in just a minute. As you may recall, we have three kind of basic themes on That VidBlaster Guy. Themes in no particular order are talk shows. Internet broadcasting and talk shows are getting really, really big, and periodically, once every third or fourth week, we'll have somebody come in as our special guest. Last week's guest was Andrew Zarian from the guys from Queens Network up in New York. Andrew's doing a great job putting together a network of all sorts of interesting folks to come in with shows, and if you haven't tuned in, you'll want to do that. You can get more information about Andrew in our previous show, show 7, that is available in our archives. The second theme that we do is church broadcasting, and we've had church broadcaster Alan Bunt from, oh golly, I never remember the town, but it's way, way up in the north. And I think that was show 2. Where we did church broadcasting, and we're due to have that in the next show or two, so we'll get back around to that. And of course, our third theme is sports broadcasting, which is really my love, and what got me into this to begin with. I mean, it's you may have heard the story before, but I can't help but telling it again. I have a good friend who's a soccer guy, and he said, "Tom, I'm doing this soccer tournament down in Orange Beach, Alabama, which is right on the Gulf Coast. Beautiful soccer facility down there." And he said, you know, it's a high school tournament, and he said, I've got teams coming in from all over the place, but I've also got some teams coming in from Oklahoma. And one of the teams that's coming in from Oklahoma has a girl on the team whose dad is Garth Brooks, and Garth Brooks is a country music star here in the States. And he said, you know, really would like to figure out a way if we couldn't get some video of that sent back to the folks watching in Oklahoma and Texas. And I said, well, sure, we can do that. You know, it's the internet. We can do anything we want. I didn't have a clue. But I knew that the Orange Beach sports venue had an internet connection, and I knew I had a computer that could get on the internet, and I had a trusty webcam. I think, you know, it's one of these little teeny jobs. It had, you know, probably a 640 by 480 resolution at the most, probably less than that, probably half of that. And this was back 2008, and I didn't know anything. And I searched, you know, where can I get somebody that, I didn't even know the word streaming at that point. But I found some little outfit somewhere in the United States that would stream a teeny little window, maybe that big if you're looking at this on your home PC, you know, an inch by an inch and a half. And so we got online, and we streamed the whole tournament through this little webcam, and it was duct taped to a tripod, and we'd turn it to the right and turn it to the left, and and sort of follow the action. You know, there was no play-by-play commentary. There were no graphics. You know, heaven forbid instant replay. No way. Not that at all. You know, halftime we'd take a clipboard and we'd write halftime on the clipboard and put it up in front of the camera, and then at the end of the game we'd write the score and who was the winning team. It was the ultimate of high-tech primitive. It really was. But the folks in Oklahoma loved it. They could hear the girls running back and forth on the field and screaming and shouting, and they could almost make out the image as who might be their daughter. And my friend came to me after the weekend and he said it was just a tremendous hit. He said, we've got to do it again next year. You got to figure out how to get a bigger screen, yada, yada, yada. And we did. And somewhere in that process, I discovered VidBlaster, and just everything else fell into place. And I've been a VidBlaster guy, a VidBlaster devotee, as you might say, since February 2009, which is when I found VidBlaster. And I think later that same month, we streamed that same Talker tournament again, but we used VidBlaster at that point. And it's been a lot of fun. So today's focus is going to be on that sports broadcasting, and generally we'll have a live guest. Today the live guest is going to be VidBlaster itself, and I've prepared 3 different videos for you. One is a demo on the replay system, one is a demo on the scoreboard system, and then one is just sort of, you know, tips and tricks from me on how to do graphics and videos when you're doing a broadcast. I'm going to check the chat room here. If you're watching live, please join us in the chat. We would welcome you to join us in the chat. And let's see, nothing in the chat, but we're glad to have our friends join us in the chat. That's always a lot of fun. And we're working on getting, just a side note, working on getting call-in through Skype. And so if that's something that you think you would like to participate in, to call in with a question or a comment and actually get on the show while it's live, cut me a note here in chat or send me an email at tom@thatvidblaster guy, or if you're watching in the archive version and you think it's something you'd like to do when you were watching live, let me know. I mean, there's nothing worse than opening it up for calls and having nobody call. So we'll take that one with a grain of salt, or take it under advisement and see what we can do about that. So if you're in a broadcast and you want to have the scores, there are a couple of different ways you can do it in VidBlaster. VidBlaster is really cool because it's got built into it something that some other software programs similar to VidBlaster really struggle with. And I'm not sure why they struggle with it or why VidBlaster has it so easy. But you can see right here, whoops, yeah, right there, is a lower third. And that's a lower third that I just typed in. It's a live text, and it pops right in. And I can take that live text, let's see if I can find it here on my VidBlaster screen, and I could make that a score if I wanted to. FSU 10 or 12, well, let's see, University of Florida 0. And I could also say that it's the first quarter. So there's certainly a quick and dirty way of doing scores. I can put a new line at the end of that, and then I can say, let's see, this is live from Tallahassee, Florida. So there are all sorts of ways that you can do that. One of the videos that we did a while back described how to put a rolling text ticker across that. So if you're interested in that, go back into the archives. I think you'll have to go back in the YouTube archives and go to that VidBlaster Guy, and you can see how to do the text ticker. And that's pretty cool too. That's a software program, a little utility program used outside VidBlaster. But let me put this one back the way it was, so if anybody pops in, they'll know who in the world I am. And we'll just put in that VidBlaster Guy. So it's that simple to do live text. And I can position this all over the screen, left, right, up, down, centered. I can change the color, I can change the font size. All of that's on the fly. But let's say that you want to do something a little bit more special. Let me pop in a little graphic here, and I'm going to show this one in the video, I'm sure, but I just want to pop it up on the screen just so you can see what I'm talking about. If this were a basketball game, we would have a score at the bottom that looked like that, a scorebook at the bottom that identified the teams, might even identify the color of their jerseys. I really like when they do that. Would tell the quarter, the time, and the station. And that's always a cool way to handle it. That is something that VidBlaster is capable of if you're capable of producing the graphics. The only thing VidBlaster can't do right now is keep the time. A couple of different ways. Well, let me just roll the video on that one. And I don't want to steal all my own thunder. So this is a scoreboard tutorial for VidBlaster. Here we go.
Welcome to another tutorial from That VidBlaster Guy. I'm Tom Sinclair, That VidBlaster Guy, and today's tutorial with VidBlaster is how to do a scoreboard. We are using the latest beta, VidBlaster version 2.24, and we've downloaded it and installed it, and we've started the program, and up comes the default module. This is the program module, the audio module, the streamer module, the player module, another player module, the video overlay module, and a camera module. And I'm going to maximize the screen on this one. Let's go all the way max. And I'm going to drag the program module over here because I want to change the video resolution to something that I'm used to using. 640 by 360 is wide. And you'll notice that'll change the size of the program module right here. That's why I went ahead and moved it out of the way. And then let's add a module that is called Scoreboard. And we'll pull that one right over here above the program module. And the Scoreboard module allows us to enter scores, enter team names, and put in some sort of background or PNG graphic that will kind of be our overlay. So let's install the overlay first. And I could click the drop down box and that would take me to the default directory. But what I want to do is right click on the scoreboard and click open. And then I'm going to navigate just to my desktop where I have put some graphic file. Let's see, score samples, is that right? No, hold on a second. Let's find here we go, scorebug background. That's what I want. And the scorebug background is nothing but, let's turn it on so you can see it, nothing but a black box with a white border around it. You can get far more complicated than that, use all sorts of colors, but I'm just doing a simple one here for this demo. And I'm going to go ahead and enter my team names. And my first team name is going to be Bay. And my second team name is going to be Bug. And you notice that they sort of overrode each other here in the top left-hand corner. And I can actually position those team names anywhere I want by right-clicking here in the scoreboard module. Some of my other choices here are position scoreboard, X and Y, position team 1, X and Y, position team 2, X and Y, position team 1 score, X and Y, position team 2 score. I want to position team 1, and the X I already know is going to be 240 pixels. And you can either measure it or do trial and error. And you can see my bay jumped right there. And now I want to do team 1Y, and I know that to be 15, trial and error, and so that pops it right there in the score. And then we'll do the same thing with team 2. My X is going to be 360 pixels, and my Y will be the same as it was before, 15. And now let's go ahead and add a score just so that we know. I can click the +1 right here, and that'll add 1 to my score for the Bay team. And for the Bug team, I can do the same thing. But we need to move those over. So we're going to position team 1 score. X is going to be 290 because I've already figured that out. There we go. And team 1Y is going to be 15. The default was 17, which was close, but it wasn't perfect. And then position team 2 score. X is going to be 325. And Y is going to be 15. And there's my score. And I can make the score go up by clicking, let's say if I want Bay to have 4 points, I'm going to click 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So there's 4 points. But Bug scores several more times, and they now have 7 points. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 7. When it gets up to 10, let's run that one up to 10. You see the digit is added to the right, so you want to allow for the extra space there. And when I get Bay up to 10, the digit is aligned, added to the right. If you wanted to have your team names in different places stacked on top of each other, depending on your graphic, that would be easy to do. Let me show you. I'm going to open up this player here and navigate to my desktop. And I've got some score samples. And we're going to take that one off, and I'm going to display this one so that you can see. This is one I just screen captured, but you can see that you've got team names and the score, and the rest of it is graphics. So you could predetermine all the graphics and then just pop in your halftime score or your final score or your score at the quarter or in between periods if it were hockey, whatever it was, and then reuse that same template over and over again. That would be in the scoreboard module right here. That would be our open whatever graphic we wanted right there. And let's see, I've got another graphic. We can see this is how it would look in a game. This is a screen grab from, I think, ESPN, an ACC game between North Carolina State and Wake Forest. And you can see the score at the bottom, where a lot of that is just the graphics, but the rest of it is the score. VidBlaster currently does not have a way to keep time. You would have to do that outside of VidBlaster. Sometimes I've seen folks take a camera and crop a shot, use it as a PIP, and bring the time in and put it in the score at the very bottom as a picture-in-picture. Other times I've seen folks do actually a screen capture of a countdown clock that they just have mounted somewhere on maybe a second monitor, and they're doing a screen capture on the countdown clock, and of course they have to remember to stop it and start it as the game goes. Easier in soccer because there's a running clock than it is in say, basketball or especially football where the clock stops all the time. So that's a tutorial of how to do a scoreboard in VidBlaster, and it all is starting with the scoreboard module. And let's take this, we'll go back just to a blank screen, put that one on there, and you can see how our screen is. Oh, one other thing. If your score is wrong and it says 12 and it should be 10, you can just simply type it in on the keyboard. Not very hard. This is Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy, doing a demo of the VidBlaster scoreboard module. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll tune into that VidBlaster guy Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Central Time at thatvidblasterguy.com. Welcome to another tutorial from That VidBlaster Guy. I'm Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster.
That's what happens when you leave the software on the loop in VidBlaster. VidBlaster, it's funny, it's been a wonderful program to work with over the last several years. It's so simple and easy to use, which is number one, the reason I like it, because I'm simple and it takes a while for things to get through to me. But beyond that, beneath that veneer of simplicity lies lots of different opportunities to do great things and to screw up. And I'm really good at the screwing up end of it. And that was a good example right there. I had set the player up to do a loop when I was doing a test earlier, and I used the same player module and loaded that one into it, and then forgot to take it off loop. So we were going to play that video again for the second time, but once was enough. You got the idea, and with the scoreboards, then you can build whatever graphics you want. If you want to have some great graphics coming across the screen for your basketball game or your volleyball game or soccer or whatever, you can do that. You can have a little score box that sits down in the corner of the screen. VidBlaster can move the scoreboard wherever you want it. It can put the team names in, or if you want the team names to be in their own special font, you can do it that way too. So you've got the opportunity, as I did here, through the live text, to put in a very quick and dirty scoreboard, or if you've got something prepared in advance, that can be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. It's a great feature in VidBlaster, and I'm certain only to get better in the future. Ugh. One of the other things that folks ask me is, Tom, when you're doing a live broadcast of a sporting event, how do you pay for it? Well, there are a couple of different ways you can pay for it. One of the ways you can pay for it is that you can just pay for it out of your pocket and just be a very generous person that comes out and broadcasts that. And I've done that. And it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work too. One of the other ways to do it is to use pay-per-view. And I've done that too, sometimes successfully, sometimes not quite so successfully. The streaming provider that I'm using for this live broadcast right now is Dacast, D-A-C-A-S-T, Dacast.com. And I selected them because they have got one of the best pay-per-view programs that I've seen that is simple for me to set up. And remember, it's got to be simple if I'm going to figure it out. And it's also inexpensive. I had a soccer broadcast recently that the tickets were $5. And out of that $5, Dacast kept 89 cents. So I got $4.11 for the ticket. They got 89 cents. Now, I'm also paying for the streaming, but if you'll go to their website, Dacast.com, you'll see how inexpensive their streaming is. And by the way, I'm not getting any kickback from them for doing this. I don't receive any compensation, free streaming or anything like that. Although, if you want to send me some free streaming, that would be great. But I'm not expecting it. I don't need it. I think they're a company and they're good, and they deserve to be judged on their own merits, not because somebody's getting some money or something free for recommending them. So I'm not. But Dacast did my pay-per-view. Now, one of the other ways that you can fund your broadcast is that you can tell whoever you're doing the broadcast for, hey, pay me. And I've had folks that have paid me to come out and broadcast for them. They will provide all the graphics. They'll provide whatever they want to provide, and I'll do the broadcast. Sometimes they'll provide the announcers. Sometimes I will. It all just depends how that works out. Another way to get paid to do a sports broadcast is to act like you're a conventional broadcasting company and go out and seek sponsors and advertisers. There are lots of opportunities for ads and for sponsorships within a broadcast. If we think about let's just pick American football because that's what our broadcast today is about. If you think about American football, you've got pregame. Between every play, there is a pause of 20 to 30 seconds. You've got timeouts. You've got breaks in between quarters. You've got half times. You've got breaks after events like touchdowns or switching a field in a punt or something like that. So there are lots of opportunities to do sponsorships or commercials. A 30-second commercial, no, you can't do that in between plays, but you can do that in a timeout. You certainly can do it in between quarters, and you certainly can do it at halftime, pregame, and postgame. So there's some great opportunities to literally sell advertising. And you say, okay, well, I don't know anybody that does that, or if I do, they don't have the ability to produce a spot. Well, you can do that yourself. You'd be amazed how easy it is to do. And I want to come back to that point. The other things that are opportunities for sponsorship are things like the pregame show. if you have a pregame show where you're talking about the teams and you're introducing the lineups and you're talking about the stats of who did what last week, that can be a sponsored event, and you can sell a sponsorship for that. You can sell a sponsorship for the instant replay. We're going to do the video on the new instant replay here in just a few minutes. And that's a great way to attract some attention to a sponsor, is to have their logo on the screen during the instant replay. I mean, it's not intrusive. You can see the little logo right here. That doesn't get in the way. And that allows the sponsor to get some recognition. You can sponsor a special camera. We did soccer a couple of years ago where we had a fixed camera attached to one of the football goalposts behind the soccer goal. And it was fixed camera, didn't move, but that was our goal cam. And it was $1,000 to sponsor our goal cam. And believe it or not, somebody stepped up to the plate and wrote a check for $1,000 to sponsor the goal cam. Now, it was a camera that took a beating because it kept getting hit by soccer balls. But, and fortunately, it was what I would consider a sacrificial camera. It was basically an old Panasonic Handycam. And it took a beating and still works to this day. But we got some great shots from it, especially when we had a penalty kick shootout, kicks from the mark. But it was only used occasionally and didn't justify having a regular camera person assigned to it. So it was a fixed camera, had a certain width of shot, and that worked really, really well for us. And it was very popular. You know, folks really liked that, especially if there was something special happen there. Oh, and with instant replay, of course, then we could go back and replay the goal that happened there. And there are other opportunities for that too. In football, you could do a sideline camera, either wireless or wired. And I'm going to do that in a show coming up, how to do a wireless camera or how to do a wired camera over a long distance. I think that'll be a lot of fun. We'll make that part of a show. So there are lots of opportunities for sponsorships in that. And I've got a little video I've knocked together pretty quickly. It's nothing fancy, but it just demonstrates how you can work some of the graphics into a broadcast. So let's go ahead and cue that one up. And no further ado, here it is.
Hi, this is Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy, with another tutorial about VidBlaster. This is VidBlaster version 2.24, the latest beta that I've downloaded from the VidBlaster forum. That's forum.vidblaster.com. In the download section there. I've installed it, and when I first start the program, I come up with what you see in front of you, the default profile. The default profile has 7 modules: the program module, the audio module, the streamer module, 2 player modules, a video overlay module, and a camera 1 module. As part of our default, the video is set, resolution is set to 320 by 240. So the first thing we're going to do is change the resolution to 640 by 360, a little bigger, mostly so it's easier to display what we're going to do. When we do that, the program module will now become much larger because that's the dimensions of our program. So we're going to maximize the window here, and we're going to slide the program module out of the way so that we can work with some other things. Today we're going to talk about how to use graphics in sporting events. And there are all types of graphics. There are graphics that are pictures that overlay the screen. For example, here in the Player 2 module, there's a VidBlaster graphic. If we click on that graphic, will come and play on the screen. But let's say we want to let's take that off. We'll go back to the camera module, which will give us black. Let's say we want to overlay something over the screen. Let's say we've got a game that's about to start, and we want to overlay something over the screen. Let me open up here. I'm just going to put something in this video, in the player module here that's set up for video. And this will be just a little football game that we can just have there kind of as a backdrop. And here in the video overlay module, it's already set up with a lower third. You can see where it says powered by VidBlaster. That's not necessarily the one we want because this is a game that we're not really, let's pretend we're not really streaming this game, but we're going to stream the game that follows this. So we might have a graphic prepared, and I'm going to navigate back again to my desktop and to some graphics. And I've got one called Coming Up. And this one would say that coming up next in the boys bracket, this was actually one we used for soccer, the Bay High School Tornadoes versus the Buckholz High School Bobcats. And this graphic would sort of overlay whatever is in our, in this case we've used the player, but it would be actually a camera. We can do the same thing, let's say for example, if we were going to introduce a sponsor. We can introduce the Perdido Beach Resort and have this sponsor graphic come in. And then we can very easily change to the next graphic if we had another graphic, and to a third graphic if we had a third graphic. And we could either do a live voiceover and talk about our sponsors, or we could do something pre-recorded. If you've got sponsors, a great idea is to go ahead and have them submit some commercials. But if you don't have, if they just don't have it within them to submit a commercial, then you can make one up pretty easily. This is one we made, and let's just play it for you. I'm going to click the play button here.
Our games tonight on Pirate Soccer TV are brought to you by the personal injury law firm of Island and Ritchie, proud to support youth athletics in the Mobile area. Island and Ritchie, with 40 years of legal and trial experience.
And as you can see, it's just simply pictures that are zoomed in and out, and a voiceover. But it's surprisingly effective, and sponsors love to have that kind of information.
You can reach the law firm directly at 251-666-1212 or on the web at erlawfirm.com.
And that's all there was to that one. Not very much. Let's see if we've got another one here that we did. This is one we did a while back.
What can you find at Glasshopper? The perfect gift is waiting. From unique art and locally handmade gifts to awards and trophies, Glasshopper has it all. Located in the gallery at 1419 Market
case,
Square
the client
in Tallahassee,
submitted,
or
script
online at
and
glasshopperonline.com.
as pictures, but they didn't want to do their own
See what you can find
voice
at
overlay,
Glasshopper.
so we did it for them. If you need to kill some time in a broadcast, let's say halftime or pre-game or post-game, in between games, if you have a boys boys basketball game and a girls basketball game or something like that, you can go to your local Chamber of Commerce, and most of the time they will have some videos that you can show about the local area. This is one that we grabbed from Orange Beach, Alabama. And you can gain a lot of goodwill by doing some local marketing like that. Let's see, here's another one that we worked with a company on where they provided the pictures, but we did the voiceover and put the pictures
For nearly
together.
20 years, Talcor Commercial Real Estate Services has been providing the best possible experience for all of your commercial real estate needs. Whether you are purchasing or selling land, needing property management, or you require our expert advice, Talcor is the company to turn to. With offices located in the heart of Midtown Tallahassee and Panama City, they offer operations throughout North Florida, South Georgia, and Southern Alabama. We continually strive to provide you with the quality customer service that you deserve. Talcor Commercial Real Estate Services, www.talcor.
And you can see how easy it is to put together a commercial for one of your sponsors. This has been some ideas on how to reward your sponsors and how to increase your sponsorship from that VidBlaster Guy, Tom Sinclair. Join us live at thatvidblasterguy.com on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for watching.
And you can tell that these videos are intended to take on a life of their own somewhere else. We'll pop them on YouTube, and we get a lot of hits from YouTube just on these individual videos of somebody that wants to know how to do just this in VidBlaster and doesn't want to have to watch the whole show, and there's no problem with that. As I was chatting with folks in the chat room while the video was going on, it reminded me of a story of a time when we were trying to get advertisers for some of our soccer broadcasts. And how do you break into it? How do you break the ice? And I thought, I'm doing these doggone broadcasts for free. Why not give away some advertising for free? And that way anybody that happens to be watching thinks that, golly, look at all these people that are advertising, therefore maybe it's a good medium to advertise in, so maybe I ought to be there too. I mean, it's just like, having a lot of cars in the parking lot of a restaurant. If the restaurant parking lot's empty, that's never a good sign. So I went out to the local Chevrolet car dealer and said, hey, I don't want your money. How about that? And of course, they were amazed. They couldn't believe it. They thought there had to be a catch. There had to be a gimmick. I mean, they're in the world of gimmicks, so they figured there had to be a gimmick somewhere. And I said, no, I don't want your money. I want to give you something. I was representing, at that point, kind of unofficially representing the local high school. And I said, I want to give you something in appreciation for all the support that you've done for our school over the years. We'd like to place some of your video ads on our soccer games. And won't cost you anything. And we'll run it whenever we can. And you can just, sit back and sell all the cars you want. I mean, and I don't know if they ever sold a car off of it, but a lot of it's just, name recognition and getting the name or the thought of a new car in somebody's head, and they go in and buy the car and they don't really know where it came from, the idea to do it. And we did that. And what happened was we ended up with some really professionally produced, high-quality video ads that we could play during our broadcast. So it made us look better because we had their ad. And I took that same concept and I cloned it to some of the local charities, nonprofit organizations, and said, look, give me some of your stuff and we'll run it as a freebie. What do they call that? There's a word for that, but that word escapes me. Anyway, and that got a great response. And then I took it a step further and I said, really, instead of having 5 ads, I'd really rather have, 10 ads. I'd rather like to fill up the space. So I went out to YouTube and I found other ads for other nonprofits or, anti-drug or those kinds of things, and pulled those in so that when it came time for my ad break in between games or at half times, I really had a full ad break, and it looked like, golly, these guys are just doing great. And I got a great response about that. Not only did I get a good response back from new and potential advertisers, but I got a great response back from the community who appreciated everything that we were doing. And that's worth a lot too, especially if you're going to be in that community for a period of time. Now, everything that I'm talking about right now is based on local. I can walk up and look eyeball to eyeball into somebody's eyes and sit down and talk to them and describe what we're doing. It's obviously a little bit more difficult if you're trying to do something that's national or international. But, you know, everything's got to start someplace. So that's some ideas on how to get some funding for your broadcast if you're just starting out, or maybe if you've been doing it for a while and you just needed some fresh ideas to kind of get the juices going again. Hopefully that'll work for you. The Gold Cam was always one of my favorites. I really liked that one because it was easy to do and the payoff was great monetarily, and whenever we got to use it, it was a big deal. Pro bono, thank you to the chat room. Pro bono, that's exactly the words that I was looking for there. Saving the best for last here in the VidBlaster show today, and that is the instant replay. And let me do a little history for you. VidBlaster I joined the VidBlaster family with VidBlaster version 0.42 in February 2009. I think I've got that right. Anyway, it was pretty close. And there was no such thing as instant replay. But VidBlaster has got a great forum, and there are lots of users in the forum, both folks that use the trial version as well as folks that use the paid version. And oh, by the way, if you're watching this and this is the first time you've talked about VidBlaster or you've heard about VidBlaster, then go to vidblaster.com and download the trial version. It's free. It has a little trial logo in the corner of the screen somewhere. But other than that, it's a fully functional version. It's not crippled in any way. It's equivalent to the studio version. They're basically, studio edition. They're basically 4 editions of VidBlaster, studio being the second from the highest. And you can use it for free. If you don't mind the little trial logo up in the top corner of the screen, you can use it forever. If you go to the forum, where I was beginning to tell you about the user support forum, and that's forum.vidblaster.com, you can download the latest beta. The beta that I'm using right now is 2.24. Boy, have we come a long way. That was a warm-up story to talk about in the forums. I began to join some of the other users to advocate for instant replay. A lot of us were doing sports broadcasting. Some were doing talk shows, some were doing events, where instant replay didn't come into play. But for those of us that were doing sporting events, instant replay is like, you're watching sports, you got to have instant replay. I mean, they go together. And so we began to lobby and raise our voices. And the developer of VidBlaster, a gentleman named Mike Versteeg, who lives in Amsterdam, Mike said, okay, if you can help me figure out how to do it, we'll do it. So he did it and came out with video replay. At that point, it was version 1, but nobody called it version 1 because there wasn't a version 2. And it was really good. Certainly better than nothing, for sure. It would take the last 30 seconds of whatever was being shown, and you could assign 1 replay to each camera, so you could have as many replays as you had cameras. But it would only retain the last 30 seconds in sort of a rolling memory. And it had a little dial where you could adjust when you clicked on the replay module. It would start, maybe for the last 15 seconds, for the last 20 seconds or something like that. And if you got good, you could show 1 replay 2 or 3 times. Now, it was full speed. It was full motion, full speed video. But hey, it was instant replay. The only drawback to it was that it used RAM. And if you had a 32-bit PC and only had, 3.5 gigabytes of RAM available, you couldn't get a whole lot of replays going. You certainly couldn't set up, if you had 4 cameras that were going full standard definition, 640 by 480, you didn't have enough RAM, and the program crashed. And so it wasn't long before the rest of us, started chiming in, hey, you got to fix that. And so Mike came out with video replay version 2, which instead of storing the video, the temporary 30-second video, instead of storing it in RAM, you could store it on the hard drive. Now, some of us smart guys that had Windows 64 with more than 4 gigabytes of RAM, we realized we could set up a RAM disk and assign the replay to dump into the RAM disk, and that worked really, really well. But the better solution was indeed the hard drive. And that was great, but the sports community again began to sort of, shake the bushes and say, well, we need slow motion, we need the ability to keep this clip, because if you didn't use that 30-second rolling clip, it was gone. I mean, it was like losing your Word document. It was gone, guys. And at one point earlier this year, I think it was this year, it may have been late last year, Mike came in the forum one day and he said, what do you want me to work on? What should be the next feature? Can you imagine the developer of a cool program like VidBlaster saying to you, what would you like me to do for you? I thought that was really cool. He'd already done it for something else for the talk show folks, and here it was time for us sports folks. And so the sports folks again lobbied together and said, we want slow motion instant replay, the ability to record clips and be able to play them back at a later date. And so he dove into it, and he didn't, he's not necessarily a sports guy, and he may not have the knowledge that a sports guy would have, but he also doesn't have the limitations of somebody coming from a sports background or a sports broadcasting background with how things should have been done. So he looked at it, said, hey, I can make that happen, and he figured out a way to make it happen. It's a little bit more complicated. VidBlaster, one of the strengths is that it has a very shallow learning curve, but that's not true with the Video Replay 3 system. It is a little bit more difficult to learn. And it's not finished yet. He's released part of it, enough of it so that we can use it, but we still don't have the ability to record clips permanently and save them as separate files so that we can combine into a highlight reel or something like that. But that's coming. It's still in the works. You can assign a replay, what they call a replay source module, to each camera. So if you've got 4 cameras, you can record the instant replay on all 4 cameras. It does require that you, like the version 2, it does require the use of a hard drive. And so I've set up, in my setup I mentioned before, I have an SSD as my main drive, but it's only 120 gigs. And then I've got a terabyte hard drive as kind of my data drive, and I make sure that I assigned the instant replay modules to the data drive as the default drive. That way I don't have to worry about it filling up, because it will flat out store. I think I was running a test earlier and I ended up with 3 gigs of video in not a lot of time. So you need to have lots of it. Now, it's only temporary. Once you're done with the video replay, it's not like it resides as a long-term file on the hard drive. It's something I erased, or it probably erases itself right after it's used. With that long introduction, sorry for the long introduction, let me run the demo, the tutorial here on Video Replay 3 from VidBlaster. Really cool stuff, Video Replay 3.
Hi, this is Tom Sinclair, that VidBlaster guy, coming to you with another tutorial about VidBlaster. This one is a tutorial on using VidBlaster's new Video Replay System 3, or what you and I might call instant replay with slow motion. I've downloaded from the VidBlaster forum the latest beta of VidBlaster version 2.24, and by the way, you can download it yourself at forum.vidblaster.com. I've installed it on my hard drive, and the first time I bring it up, I see in front of me the default window. There's the program module, the audio module, the streamer module, 2 player modules, one with video and one with a graphic, a video overlay module, and a camera module. I'm going to maximize this window because I want to make a few adjustments to make things a little easier to see. The first thing I want to do is increase the resolution of VidBlaster to 640 by 360, which is going to change the size of the program module so we can see it a little more easily. The second thing I'm going to do, since I don't have a game in front of me, I'm going to load up the player module with a game that I've pre-recorded, actually something I borrowed off the internet, and it's a little Pee-wee football game. I'm going to make some adjustments to the player module to tell it to auto-rewind, play on take, to loop, and we're going to cut the volume down to 0 because we're not interested in what their volume is. And we'll go ahead and get that going there. And then I'm going to add some other modules. First of all, I'm going to add Video Replay 3 Replay Controller. That's the heart of the replay system. And then, since I have one source, which right now is the player module, which could be a camera module as well, I'm going to add a replay source module. And first off, I'm going to tell my replay source module to use the player 1. You see, I could use the camera if I had a camera hooked up to the game. I'm also going to tell it I want a temporary folder to be my terabyte hard drive, which is my second drive in this system. I've got an SSD as the main drive. So we're going to let it use the terabyte hard drive as a temporary folder. And I'm going to change my display size to 50%, again, so it's a little easier to see. Also, since the instant replay, the video replay system requires the video switcher to be used most of the time, I'm going to add the video switcher module. If you have VidBlaster Home or VidBlaster Pro, this will not work for you, but I do have a workaround for that we'll talk about at the end of this tutorial. So I've got the replay source set up as player 1, temporary folder set up as my terabyte hard drive, display size set up as 50%. Over here in the replay controller, you can see I've got a series of numbers here across the top. The left-hand bank of numbers is basically my in and out times. It tells me where I am when I'm looking for something to make a replay of. It tells me where I am in the video. The right-hand bank of numbers is the cumulative time clock. The bar right here below it allows me to go back in time or forward in time to mark the in and out points of my clip. Here are my in and out buttons. The live button in the middle basically is the go button, and so we're going to go ahead and tell it to go. Start recording to the hard drive everything that comes through the Player 1 module, and so it's beginning to do that. Down here, as we continue to go through what our different sections are, the clip basically tells us what our clip is, clip number 1, clip number 2, which we can rename to anything we want. IN is in, that's our in point, and that tells us in time when is our in point. And then the S over here is for seconds. That tells us the duration of the clip. Down here, the play button is where we can play the clip. Stop stops the clip. And if we had more than one source, we would choose our sources down here. The very bottom button, this is my most favorite button of all. This is the button that allows us to slow down the replay. So I'm going to position it about halfway through right now. And let's go ahead and find a clip. We've got 54 seconds worth of game already sort of recorded in our replay source over here. So let's grab this little bar, and eventually VidBlaster will come with the ability to hook up to a separate controller that'll allow y'all to do that with a jog shuttle. Let's see. Let's drag it back and see if we can find a good play. Right there. That's a good stopping point. You notice the replay source backed up to 1 minute, 6 seconds, but we're still going live up here in the program window at 1 minute, 30 seconds. Let's mark this point right here as an in point, and then we'll move this slightly to the right. Go ahead and let our play out, and then we'll click an out point. So now we have a clip, and then we'll go back to live. So we're recording. That looks like that might be an interesting play right there. Let's make a recording of that one. That was about 1 minute 50. Go right about there, and we'll stop, mark an in point, pull it to the right to go forward, and that's the out point right there. So we'll click out. Now we've got 2 clips recorded. Clip number 1, clip number 2. Let's rename it, and we're just going to name it, golly, let's say it's Tom's touchdown. Not really, but it could be. And the next one is going to be Fred's touchdown. So we've got those recorded right there. And now let's say we've reached a timeout and we want to go back and take a look at what we just had. We can queue up this clip, and get it playing, switch over, and now we're talking about our instant replay. There it is, slow motion. I can take the slow motion controller down here at the bottom and I can slow it up because we want to see if the ball pops out, or I can bring it back up to regular speed. And you notice the clip played right through my stop point. That is one advantage to it, is you can record actually more than what's there in the initial clip. Let's stop that one. We'll go back to live action. And now let's say we've come up to another point where we want to play our second replay. So let's get that one queued up right here. We'll tell it to play. We'll switch to replay. This is the replay. We can fast forward a little bit. We can slow up. At this point we can't go back in time, but we can almost go frame by frame, which can be a lot of fun. And then by clicking the player module, we can go back to the live action. This is going to be a lot of fun to use. It's going to be great. As you can tell, it takes a little bit extra effort to master this. And it also may be the kind of thing where you need somebody over your shoulder watching what's going on in the game to help you figure out when a good point to play a replay is going to be, or you can save them all for halftime. Now, if you have VidBlaster Home or VidBlaster Pro and you don't have the video switcher available, let's remove that module. We can use the video effect module, and actually you can do this with all of them. And we'll just simply set up the replay controller as our source. And this is going to be a source overlay. So now anything that appears in the replay controller, let's see, let's queue up clip number 1. You see how the video effect is now matching whatever's in the replay source. So let's start the replay, and then we'll start the video effect. And you see now anything that's in video effect, replay source, is now in the program module. If we speed it up, it'll speed up. If we slow it down, it'll slow down. And then we can simply go back to live action by clicking live action. And that's using the video effect module. So, actually, you can use the video effect module instead of using the video switcher if you have the studio or the broadcast versions as well. This has been a demonstration of the VidBlaster new video replay system 3. For more information about this, you can tune into That VidBlaster Guy or shoot me an email. But That VidBlaster Guy appears, we are live on the internet every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern at thatvidblasterguy.com. We welcome you to join us. Thanks for tuning in.
And we're back. And as always, you know, you watch something like that. I appreciate Jan's comments in the chat room. It's like, boy, I wish those little teeny letters and numbers were larger so that I could see them. I'll have to learn how to use that video recording software a little better, because I think there is a zoom function where we can zoom in and get a little tighter view of some of that stuff. But I think you got the gist of it, that basically you can record a clip, you can designate a clip, and then you can play it back anytime you want at any speed. Now, one of the things that might have been a tad confusing in that video, and let me unpack it just a little bit, which is you mark an in point and an out point, but that's just for reference. When you mark an in point, it'll assign it a number, and you saw me change the name of it, and then it says at what point in the total duration, how many minutes in, did the clip start, and then what was the duration of the clip, that is the seconds. And the out button is what allows you to determine what the seconds were. But that really doesn't mean that clip is only 10 seconds. It means that's what you wanted. The clip actually will run forever. I mean, until your hard drive fills up or until you're done with your show. So you saw in one of those cases, I let my instant replay kind of run on to the next play because I'm not very good at it yet. And that's one of the things that you'll have to remember. It's not like a video that has a start point and a stop point, and at the stop point it stops. This has a start point and then the end of the clip, what they call the out, is sort of a mark where you know that's as far as you want it to go. It doesn't mean you can't go any farther if you don't want to. So not sure, actually from what I hear, that's the way regular replays are for the big guys. They have the exact same function. They don't have it recorded like that. So it will be interesting to see when VidBlaster has its ability to record clips, if the clip will then just be the in and out points as the duration of the clip. I'm sure that's the way it's going to have to be. But very, very cool feature. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Anybody that's got a camera and can go to a ball game can now do the instant replay. Again, it's going to take an immense amount of concentration on the director to be able to keep up with what's going on with what's going on in the game, as well as store those clips for later. But you could let the whole thing run for a whole half and then go back. As long as you knew about what time something happened, you could find the clips later, because it'll record them until it fills up your hard drives, I guess. My concept is that in a high-powered system, and don't tell anybody I told you this, because this is going to be my new secret when I build my next prototype PC. But it's basically to have and it's not even my idea. I think somebody on the forum had it. But basically, the idea is to if you let's say you've got a 4-camera setup, and you want to have a solid-state hard drive assigned to each one of those 4 cameras. So you might have 5 solid-state hard drives. One would be your program drive, and then the other 4 would be data drives that would be assigned to the cameras. And just think how quick it would be. It would be snappy. I haven't run into any limitations with the spinning hard drive as the designated drive yet, but I also haven't tested it with 4 cameras at standard definition. I would imagine when you start getting into high definition is when things really could get bogged down. But that's that becomes a hardware limitation now, not necessarily a software limitation. So let's see. Getting some notes in the chat room. Let's see. That's why you only mark the out time and have the system automatically set the in time. Oh, that's interesting. And the software should automatically be able to set the in time and let me set the duration. Very good. Very good. That's probably something that needs to be implemented. One of the interesting things about that, or about this whole concept, is that VidBlaster, the home version retails for $195, and it has slow motion instant replay. Holy cow! If I'm a Wirecast user and I'm using it to stream sports, I'm going out and I'm buying VidBlaster home version, and I'm putting it on a second PC, and I'm using that as my slow motion PC and putting a separate operator on there. And so now VidBlaster will work with anything to pass that slow motion instant replay, and it just becomes an extra camera source, as it were. So I think the possibilities are really limitless for $195 or $495 for the Pro version, $995 for the Studio version, and $1995 for the broadcast version. Oh, by the way, if you're interested in purchasing VidBlaster, you can purchase it directly from VidBlaster at vidblaster.com in their store, or you can purchase it through me. I'm an authorized VidBlaster reseller. One thing that my customers get that customers of VidBlaster directly don't get is they get my email address and they get my cell phone number. So if you're on a Friday night doing a big broadcast and suddenly things go kaplooey, you can actually pick up the phone and call somebody, and somebody will answer the phone on the other end at 8 o'clock on a Friday night and say, things went kaplooey, help me troubleshoot it. Sure, I love to do that. I mean, I'm sorry that you got problems, but I love the troubleshooting process. That's a lot of fun. I like that kind of challenge. And I've got, I don't know, probably 100 clients now. And you'd think, oh, you'd just be buried with phone calls. Well, not really. VidBlaster's really easy to use once you know what you're doing. And you make the same mistake twice, you don't make it a third time. And I'm certainly proof of that. So appreciate you tuning in today. It's been a pleasure to bring this information to you. If you would like to purchase VidBlaster, you can go to our store here on thatvidblasterguy.com. That'll link you to our Sinclair Sports Network website where you can make the purchase. It's PayPal. You can go to eBay and buy it from me off eBay. Either way, I'm happy to support you. If you're interested in our prototype PC, we do have a streaming PC that we've designed just for sports. It's currently out on loan to somebody who wanted to test it. But it's set up basically the same way as my studio system is, with a solid-state hard drive and then a terabyte spin-in drive as backup, with 4 input standard definition. And that little rascal is about that big and about that tall and weighs about, I've got to weigh it. I bet it doesn't weigh more than 5 pounds. And it's got a handle on the top, and it's really cool. So anyway, there's I had to get the little business part in there at the end. So I'm Tom Sinclair. This has been That VidBlaster Guy, show number 8. I'm delighted that you've tuned in. If you haven't already, go to the archives and watch some of the other shows. Some of them are probably better than this one. Some of them are probably not as good. But I'll look forward to seeing you next week, next Tuesday, when we come on live again next week. It's going to be a taped version, but it'll be there for you on next Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Central, thatvidblasterguy.com. And I'll send you out with some of our patented theme music. So long.